Hey everyone, I'm Jim Cook, Market Relationship Manager with Bergen KDV and 2021-22 President of Cedar Rapids Downtown Rotary Service Club. I'm excited to welcome you to our new podcast series called Rotary Roundtable, which we created to tell our club story in a new and different way. In this episode, we're looking at how we're building bridges to the next generation of Rotarians through our focus on youth development. We'll talk with Rotarians Michelle Owens, Jenny Bosking, and incoming President Barb Randall about Rotary's youth initiatives, from RYLA to international student exchanges. We'll also talk with high schooler and Interact member Martine Niwe about her interests and why she's so passionate about Rotary. Our conversation is moderated by downtown Rotarian Adam Moore. We hope this podcast gives you some insight into the next generation of Rotarians and inspires you to join our efforts. Hope you enjoy the episode.
All right, thanks everybody for joining us. We're excited to have another Rotary Roundtable convo today about youth and the future of Rotary. Let's start with some introductions. So Barb, why don't you go ahead?
Sure, I'm Barb Randall. I've been in Rotary about 11 years, and I'm incoming president, so that should be an exciting year.
Awesome. Welcome, Michelle.
Excellent. Hi, Michelle Owens. I am the current youth committee chair, and Jenny here will be the next committee chair, but I'll be moving over to programs. So I've actually been in this Rotary group for about 6 years now.
Great. Jenny, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Jenny Bosking, and I think I am just like 3.5 to 4 years in. I'm still kind of wearing the new hat. But yes, I am the incoming chair of the youth committee, but I have had the honor of being the liaison for the Jefferson High School Interact Club this last year.
Awesome. And then Martine.
Yeah, my name is Martine Niwe. I am a junior at Jefferson High School. I am the current president of the Interact Club, and I've been in Interact since my freshman year. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for joining us. We're excited to just talk about youth initiatives and all the things. Barb, maybe we'll start with you. I've been a member, for 5 or 6 years, and I think something that I've really learned a lot about being a member is the kind of wide scope of things that we do for youth and what a core piece of Rotary that is. I don't know if I knew that before. I know you've been super involved. Helps kind of lay out the landscape a bit for like our listeners, like all the different things that you've touched or that we do.
Sure. I can't say I've touched all of them,
Okay.
but I can certainly talk about a lot of them. So RYLA is the Rotary Youth Leadership Award, and that is a camp. I think it's the dumbest name, award. I don't know why you would name that for a camp,
Okay.
but that's what it's called.
All right.
And it's a camp that is held every year, and it always ends up falling on the same week as RAGBRAI, but it's every year at a college not very far away. It's been Grinnell for a lot of years, and then last year because of the COVID stuff, it was at Co. It will be at Grinnell again this year. And it's a week-long leadership camp for kids who are, maybe I shouldn't say kids, but they're kids to me, kids who are just finishing their sophomore or junior years of high school.
Okay.
And it is jam-packed full of activities, and I got interested in it because I know the man who runs it. His name is Dave Cutter, and he's with the West Rotary Club, and his wife actually is a friend of mine, Betsy. And Betsy, a few years ago, decided that, I'm not sure that she made this decision, but somebody in Rotary made the decision that once kids get to the 10th or 11th grade year, their path is kind of already in front of them.
Okay.
And so they thought maybe if they could pull that back a little bit and start the path a little bit earlier with the leadership and kind of helping them, that would be a better future. So there was a group in Colorado who had started a younger RYLA, which they now call Young RYLA. It's very
Creative.
very creative. And so Young RYLA was started, I believe, in Colorado. And Betsy went out and learned about it and experienced it and brought it back to Iowa and started it 5 or 6 years ago. I'm not exactly sure, but I've always been interested in it because I've been interested in youth. I've done some coaching with youth and that kind of thing. And I, as Whitney Houston, I'm dating myself, would say, children are our future.
Sure.
So whatever we can do to help them with their future is only going to help our future. And so Betsy Cutter brought the Young RYLA back to Iowa and started it at Grinnell. It was her husband who does RYLA, so they had a lot of kind of overlap there. And I got to experience Young RYLA as a Rotarian last summer. So they were off for a year because of COVID, and then it was, well, is it going to be on? Is it going to be off?
Yeah.
So then we did Young RYLA, which was an amazing experience, and kids come out of there life changed. And Jenny can talk about that a little bit because her daughter went to RYLA, but it's amazing for these kids to have the experience that they have, and it's a confidence builder. So I'll stop with Young RYLA and RYLA there, but I think they're amazing programs. We have Interact clubs that are high school age kids, and Rotary clubs sponsor those. And so Rotary clubs can do that wherever you are, you can get in contact with your high school club and sponsor an Interact club. There are Rotaract clubs that are supposed to be for kids that are like 18 through 30. It's like young adults. I think 18 might be on the young side, but there are Rotaract clubs that a lot of colleges can sponsor, and again, a Rotary club can sponsor that with local colleges. And then there's another one that I know of that is less known. It's called Rotex.
Okay.
And Rotex is it's ROTEX. The EX is for exchange.
Yes.
So it's the Rotary Youth Exchange kids. So the Youth Exchange kids are the ones who go and spend a year abroad, and the Rotary Youth Exchange kids have come back and created their own group called Rotex, and they're mainly college age, and they help the current kids who are on youth exchange from other countries. And so if there's a problem, if there's, just helping them get used to being here, or if there's something like I have a kid in my house that's here from Spain. I'm making this up because I don't. Okay. But I have a kid in my house who's here from Spain.
We haven't
I know.
started yet.
Don't I sound really cool? Who's here from Spain, but they don't feel like they can tell me something, and they don't feel like they can tell a teacher something. It's a connection that they have that helps them just kind of the lay of the land. So that's kind of a newer program. And I know the current, this is going to sound funny because our district is basically the northern half of Iowa, but the current Rotex group is based in Iowa City, even though it has members at the University of Iowa, Cornell College, and a couple other places, but they meet in Iowa City. So I will stop
That is a
talking
huge
now.
list. I mean, no, it's really,
huge list.
When you hear service club, right? We do, and our club does a lot of more local service philanthropy type stuff, but the youth development is such a core of what Rotary is. Michelle, maybe you can talk, as kind of the outgoing chair of that youth committee, just talk a little bit about why you're involved, what you took away, what you're taking away from that experience, what it's like.
Oh, I'm involved because I'm passionate about the youth.
Yeah.
Helping to coach and bring them forward, pay it forward. And it's really inspiring to me to be a part of a group that gets to engage with young people like the Jefferson Interact group or the college group, or bring in foreign exchange students. There's just a lot of hope and energy and excitement around that. And there's a lot of energy around really wanting to give back. So that's why I'm really involved, because I love the energy, and I love the hopefulness of the future of the Rotarians of tomorrow. I mean, there's just a ton of potential to engage the younger. So,
I'm putting you on the spot. I'm wondering, here locally or in our area, do you have an idea of how many kids we work with on a given year or in a certain time? A lot?
Well, it's kind of interesting because Barb mentioned a couple of programs specifically with the high school and the college and the exchange program. We also have a program called the Service Above Self. So we engage with the different high schools to really try to promote the youth in giving back to the community, because we're all one big community. So how can we work together? But that alone is about 10 kids coming in annually to our Rotary group specifically. We've got how many students in the Interact group?
We have about 14 as
14
members.
students there. We have,
and it's only going to get bigger.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's only going to get that.
this.
It's going to get bigger. And then of course, with the exchange program this year, we'll have one incoming exchange student.
Okay.
With
Do
our
you remember
club.
where he's coming from? Just with our club alone.
Right. So with the 7 or 8 clubs that are in the metro area, several sponsor kids both in and out. So I would say maybe usually 5 or 6 in and 5 or 6 out.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's amazing how many lives that we're touching just with one Rotary group. Now times that by
Well,
8
and you haven't
in
even
the community.
counted Young RYLA and RYLA yet. So
Yeah,
Young RYLA, last
Hundreds of
summer,
students.
yeah. So last summer, Young RYLA was, I want to say 50-ish. But RYLA gets 300 or 400.
Yeah.
And so it's
Oh, wow. I
it
didn't realize
really
it was that
yeah
big.
it's a really big. He's been doing it for I want to say 12ish years, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's very popular.
What kind of do you? I want to talk about the Interact. I want to save a little bit of that. Just while we're talking about RYLA, like, can you talk a little bit about the development lessons that are being learned, or what kind of activities it is?
Well,
or?
here's the secret of RYLA.
Okay.
You can't tell
We
what
can't
happens.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
secret.
It's like trade flow.
It's yeah. You so when Jenny's daughter came home,
Okay.
they're kind of sworn to secrecy because a lot of it is leadership development and a lot of it is having to figure your way out of a situation. And if you told everybody, then they'd go to the camp the next year and they wouldn't get
I
the
see.
benefit of it. So it's not so much that it's, oh my gosh, it's such a secret. It's more to help people who come in the future but it's the kind of things that we do in leadership sessions that we go to where you are in a certain situation and you have to figure out how do you get everybody on this, this board versus that board, or I mean, it's puzzle types of things and leadership building types of issues. It's a little hard to explain.
Team building, leadership building.
Yes.
I can add from what you're talking about, the secret society. We'll
Okay.
go
Whatever you
deeper.
can say.
But there is a method to their madness because there is a connection that those kids make and a newfound confidence in what each of them are capable of doing. Yeah. And I will say it was one of those aha moments for my daughter, who realized when she came back, she was capable of a lot more than she realized before she left. So there's a lot of really smart things going on, and these kids stay connected. They're from all over the state of Iowa, and I know she is still interacting, and she was just studying abroad in England and was connected to a girl from her RYLA class who was also there. And so it's a pretty nifty connection and unique. So,
well, and there's one exercise in particular that they do to help break down walls and help break down your judgment of other people. And it helps you realize that everybody's got something. And so you might as well be kind to them because everybody's dealing with something. It may not be the same something that you're dealing with, but everybody has something, and it's powerful. It really is. They've got it planned well, so they do it kind of in the middle of the week because the way they do it, you have to be comfortable enough with the people around you to trust them. And if you did it the first night, it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And if so it's a powerful thing for kids who haven't realized that maybe other people are in the same boat as they are, even though it may be a different issue, but everybody's got something. And I think that's where the confidence comes from. It's just learning how to deal with that, and that others are in that boat too, and it's okay.
That's a great, I guess, key leadership kind of lesson, right? As you move into the business world and things and working with teams. I'd love to switch to the Interact a little bit. Martine, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself again and just the club and the Interact Club at Jefferson?
Yeah, like I said, I'm the president currently, but I'm the type of person that just loves everything and just wants to do everything. And so as soon as I joined high school, I joined like 50. I joined botany club, and I didn't know what botany was, and so I went into the club, and they we're gonna be planting plants. I'm like, oh gosh, I didn't know what that was. Yeah, I was like, no, and then I joined Interact, and so this was 9th grade, and it was pretty structured at the time because this was before COVID, so it was 2019. Yep. And we had like a lot of members, like over 20, I believe. It was really packed. I loved it. I participated in like the crop walk and like a lot of volunteering, and then COVID happened, of course.
Yeah.
I was the treasurer my sophomore year during COVID, but it was just really hard to sort of like get it started again. It just didn't work out. We tried, but it just didn't work out very well. And it wasn't until my junior year when Jenny reached out to me, and we sort of talked about it, and we planned it out, and we kind of restarted it. And the good thing about it, and we've talked about it a little bit, is that we got a chance to sort of like remodel it and make it what we want it to be, I guess. Okay. You know, like keeping those integral things that make it interact, but also kind of adding in new things as everything has changed. And so we restarted it in November. And we've been kind of rolling since then. We have about 14 members, which we're hoping, that those numbers are going to grow. I think one of the effects of COVID is that a lot of students sort of don't want to engage in things. We've seen really low numbers of like engagement and participation from freshmen and sophomores, which is really, really sad. You have like low numbers in things like band, sports, like all of these activities, and it's so sad. But we're hoping that maybe as we kind of move forward from COVID, more people are more engaged and whatnot. Okay. But yeah, I think Interact Club is a lot about like the people you meet, the connections, giving back to the community, and it's really fun. I enjoy it.
Tell us about like a Interact meeting or what kind of stuff do you do, or what's it like?
Yeah, so we have 5 council members. And we sort of like meet in between other meetings where we kind of plan it out. And essentially this year we've been focused a lot on having speakers come in. Okay. And so we've had members of the Downtown Rotary Club come in and talk to us about what they do. We've had people from Waypoint come in, foundations too, like all of these foundations have come in and talked to us. And the biggest thing is just they've given us so many opportunities. I know there are people that have applied to RYLA and they're so very excited. People who I found an internship with Michelle. I'm so excited for that.
I am too.
It's just we've been able to talk to so many people from the Rotary Club and been presented with so many opportunities. So yeah, they come in and speak to us. We do volunteering. We kind of like we have snacks. That's fun too. And I've also just it's such a close friend group, I think, that we're all like super close, and we hang out outside of like class. Sometimes I've met so many like wonderful people. But yeah, and we're hoping that next year we can also do some projects that like giving back not only to the community but to the school as well. Cool. Like with we're doing this sort of like
tell them about your idea that came out of the Foundation 2 talk. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there were 2 sort of like ideas. Green bandana, which is essentially you have a bandana and people know that you can help them. The other idea was sort of like putting everything we've learned this year together, right? So we've had people come in, of course, from different organizations, and so what we do is we would sort of provide like in somewhere in the school, the different spots where they would have like QR codes, things like that, where people would have access to resources in case they needed them in like privacy. So let's say, like an example, my name is Mary, and I'm sort of struggling with mental health, but I don't know who to reach out to, right? And I walk into the Jefferson bathroom and I see a QR code for like Waypoint, right? And boom, I have help without, like I'm able to reach out to that. So just things like that, I think, is what we're hoping to do. Wow. Yeah.
I love that idea. What?
Almost like an employee assistance program for
Yeah.
Doing their own in Jefferson.
Yeah.
Their own HR department.
Yeah. But that's really
so
cool.
Yeah. And it was really interesting too. You came to visit us at the Rotary Club one time with the Interact group came. And it was just really interesting because we asked them to say one word and why they're engaging with Interact. Do you remember your word?
Oh, shoot. I don't think I do.
Every one of them was fantastic.
I know. And so then, of course, all the Rotary members swarmed up to the students and they're like, we want to help. We want to speak. Yeah. Or, we want to really get engaged. So that was fun.
I think I remember. Everyone just was they were like clowning on me for this, but I didn't say a word. I think I had like
so many to choose from.
Yeah, I think I had like a speech and they were like, Martine, was supposed to be a word. And so
that's right.
Yeah,
that's
I remember
right.
that. Yeah, I think I like stood up and then I like said like a couple of sentences and I was thanking everyone and I was like, oh gosh, it's supposed to be a word. And then so
but there was good words, community. And
yes.
I just have to interject that when we were at our first reorganizational meeting, because just like Interact not being around for a couple of years, neither has this club, because we were all sort of paralyzed during COVID and we weren't meeting in person. And so we had this first meeting of Rotary members who were going to be involved in this committee. And I just decided to raise my hand to do Interact. only because I'm a former teacher. I thought, okay, that's actually what I know how to do, so I'll do this. And every once in a while in life, when you raise your hand, things are better than what you thought it was going to be. And this group is that. I mean, like, you think, okay, I'm going to go into this group of kids. They don't know who I am. They haven't been around together. And you walk in and, like, they make your hair move. They're just dynamic, sharp, nice kids. The first speaker we had come was from Waypoint, and she was talking about some mental health stuff. And one of the kids asked a really smart question. And before the presenter could answer it, one of the boys in the group answered the question with the right answer about the tendencies of what causes mental health needs and whatever. And I just thought, wow, this is us. So
awesome.
Not only is Rotary great because we can do all this interact, but when you get the clay that we got with this group, the sky's the limit. It's a pretty remarkable group of young future leaders. So I feel really lucky to get to see them every
that's
couple of
incredible.
weeks.
You know, part of this episode, Martine, we wanted to talk to someone younger, right? And I don't want to make
Wait, what?
you like
We don't qualify for that?
someone younger
Hey,
than the
we're
rest
young
of
at
us.
heart.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
actually.
Well, we talked about Whitney
Aren't you in your
Houston.
20s?
Yeah,
You know, we wanted to, and I don't want to like make you speak for all your classmates or a generation like that, but I'm just curious about yourself. Why interact, right? I feel like you have so many options for
Yeah.
activities and
Like
giving
botany.
back. Yeah,
Like
botany club,
botany club.
right? So, like, what about this organization and this group, and what kind of drives you here? What attracts you to it?
Yeah, I know a lot of you talked about energy, like you can just kind of feel it. And I think that's a big part of it. I think having such a close-knit group that's just willing to learn, that's the biggest. Everyone is so willing to learn and willing to help and, just be a part of something. I think that's a big reason. For me, why I chose Interact, as a teeny weeny freshman, I think it kind of represented a lot of the things that I wanted to become, a lot of things I wanted to do. I mean, I saw like the seniors, they were leaders that were really helping and driving everyone. And I saw that the Interact Club was doing good, not just in the community, but also in the school and helping other people. And that's something that I wanted to do. And I knew that they were able to sort of like meet new people and make connections. And I strive to do that. And so that's why I chose it. And I know that a lot of other students, like my friends, I guess I can speak for them maybe a little bit. They wanted to, like, with COVID and everything like that, it kind of strained a lot of relationships and a lot of friendships, and it made it harder to meet new people. And I think Interact Club made it easier, where you came in and you met others and you were able to talk to them and like find interests and whatnot. And I think that's also a part of it as well.
It's kind of like a Rotary meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you about your Interact. Before COVID,
Yeah.
it seems like as a Rotary Club, we heard about your meetings a lot of times were service projects around the school. Like you'd have bake sales for certain
Yes.
fundraisers or do things. Can you talk about some of the things you did or some of the things you raised funds for, or was that maybe before your time?
I got to see a little bit of
Okay.
it. I think I like Interact Club now. I mean, I loved Interact Club then, but I think it didn't have a lot of the conversations that we have now. It was so very structured that there wasn't really any room for conversations or for inputs or for things like that. So essentially, you would walk in, you would do the four truths, is it?
Oh, did
Four-way
you?
test?
Did,
The four-way
I
test.
did that.
I have not brought that to the Interact Club.
wow.
My bad.
But they've done a lot of service projects
Oh,
this
yeah,
year.
we
In
have,
fact, they
yes.
did one with the Rotary, with the district Rotary group.
Well, I know. I
Yeah.
think you were out at Indian
Yes,
Creek
that was
Nature
our
Center in the
first. That was our
fall.
first
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Well, we went there on Thursday, and we're like, by the way, we have a project. Would you like to join us on Saturday? And
They
six
came,
students showed
Yeah,
up.
it was like it was our first meeting. We're like,
We were not
okay.
expecting that.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so that was our first. Wait, no, I was talking about the before COVID.
This is before and after. Oh gosh.
Yeah, so we do the four truths. They always had pizza. It was during lunch, right? That's another thing. It was very
Lunches have
rushed.
changed. It's harder to find the
Yeah.
time to meet, so we've had
We
to
changed
adapt with
after
that.
school. It used to be during lunch, and people would be trying to eat. It was like 30 minutes, so it was really, really
Oh, wow,
rushed.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's fast.
but we would sometimes we do letters to like people in service. We do letters to nursing homes during meetings. We do sort of like activities, so that was really fun. We did bake sales. I participated in the crop walk. We also did the Taylor Elementary. We were fixing up the playground. Those are the only ones I participated in before COVID, and then so
The
after.
only ones. It's like a list of.
But because of the duration,
It was only
that's
a
probably
semester.
why it was more internal.
Yeah, it was like about a semester that I got to participate before COVID. I know during COVID we tried to do letters 'cause we were like, that's something you can do at home.
Yeah.
But I don't think that ever worked out because a lot of the nursing homes weren't allowing
Anything
students
from outside, probably.
Yeah, so that never worked out. And then after COVID, obviously the first one was the Indian Nature Creek Center. I don't know if I can remember everything off the top of my head.
Well, you guys you did write letters to people in nursing homes.
We did the church. We're like handing out food.
Oh yeah, they did Saturday evening meals.
Yes. I feel like there's
You
more.
came and danced at the Ark
Oh
March.
yes, that was so fun. I enjoyed that a lot.
They interacted with all of the folks that the Ark of East Central Iowa supports, so that was great.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I don't know if I can remember everything, but yeah, that's kind of a little bit of it. Yeah,
That's great. How do you feel like all the experiences you're having have like improved or enriched your life personally?
I think I've already talked about this a little bit, but like meeting people.
Yeah.
I think I've had the opportunity to meet such amazing people that just give so much wisdom. There's so much advice that they give me, and that's been really helpful. As like I'm 17, I don't really know much of the world, and having people like older than me that come and they can guide me and give me like advice and things like that. That's been really helpful. I guess another thing is knowing that we're giving back to the community. I think that's been really, really nice. Yeah.
I think a lot of old white dudes like me in the club, it's easy to say, oh, the next generation doesn't care about service, or they don't.
This changes everything.
Opposite.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and I suspect your group will grow exponentially
Yes,
next year,
definitely.
as people are getting re-engaged, because young people really want to get back.
They
and
need
there's like
something.
a calling now.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing: these kids are such decent kids, and like you are attracted to be with people where you feel safe and welcomed, and that's what this group is.
Yeah.
And so, as you put it out there next fall, I think you are going to grow this group exponentially. And for all of the bad things that have come with COVID, the opportunity to have this reset is it's kind of cool. And that you guys get to, when you leave Jefferson, you will leave quite a legacy for something that these next kids coming in are going to take on. So
Yeah.
you're setting the bar high.
And another thing I think that's sort of overlooked when it comes to COVID is like the effect that it had on kids is like mental health, where it's not just that they don't want to engage in things, that they want to participate. I think they feel like they can't, or like
They don't know how.
Yeah, they don't know how, or they don't have the opportunities to. And I think Interact presents those opportunities where they're, because I remember I was in 10th and I'm like, how do I volunteer? How do I do all of this? I don't know where to look. So I was like calling people and like, I just didn't know. And I think Interact and Rotary just kind of offered that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So will you be off for the summer, or will you continue to do a few
Tell them
things
what you're
over the
doing.
summer?
Oh, like me personally, or the Interact
The
Club?
Interact Club.
The Interact Club.
And then you tell us.
And then-
Yeah, that's fine too.
With the Interact Club, so we held elections for just the president and vice president before school ended, before we had our last meeting. And so we're going to be working on sort of like planning for the next year, what speakers are going to come in, what projects, just kind of advertisement, planning for the freshman orientation so we can get more underclassmen, so we can think about the future, which is, what we're talking about. And then, what was that other question?
What are you doing this summer?
Oh, me.
Why is it going to
actually-
be hard for you to set this schedule? Because
Oh,
what's
gosh.
going on that's keeping you so busy?
Gosh. With Interact Club, I think you also presented some opportunities in the summer, like volunteering with like baseball games. If participants are able to, and if members are available, they can also volunteer with that. And Matthew 25 is also an option. We've presented options that they can do.
Yeah.
With me, I was so sad. I applied to RYLA. I remember at the beginning of the year, I applied to so many programs, and I was like, "There's no way I'm going to get into them. That's not going to happen." Like it's just. And then I did, and so
Where are you going?
Yeah, I was like sitting there. I'm like, So I got into Thrive, which is like an academic program, and it's a 6-year program where I'm going to go there in the summer.
6-week program.
6 years. Actually, they stay with me for 6 years. Yeah. So every year I'm in college, they give me $1,000, and every summer $500. And I have an advisor that meets with me every month. So they were.
And where are you going to?
Massachusetts, Amherst College.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
So I get to
Bravo.
go there in the summer for 6 weeks, where I get to be taught. I actually took my math diagnostic last week, and I couldn't use a calculator. Oh my gosh, I was panicking.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Teen angst.
So we take math and science during the summer, and so they need to know what math to place you in. And so we're taking this math test, and I'm like, I can't do math without a calculator. But anyway, so there's that. I'm also doing Questbridge, which isn't really a big time commitment in the summer. I'm also doing my internship with Michelle, which I'm so excited for. That's Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. And yeah, well, I also have cross country, and then
She's busy.
Yeah, it's kind of a lot, but I hope I will be able to kind of work and like try to like plan for Interact Club. And where the biggest thing right now is the freshman orientation, where we're gonna put ourselves out there. Oh, there's a T-shirt club that they're making T-shirts for the Interact that we can all wear, and so
love that.
yeah, so trying to recruit more younger people. So
I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired.
Yeah, I was like, don't burn yourself out this summer.
well,
getting
hey,
all
guess
that
what?
done.
I have 15 free days in the summer. I counted.
This is the best.
She's counted.
She's counted. This is the best Friday afternoon pick me up.
Yeah.
Because we meet when they get out of school early on Fridays.
Yeah.
And so, you're heading over there at 1:30 and, it's the end of the week. You're kind of dragging and then you get all this energy from these kids.
Yeah.
That was going to be one of my questions is when you meet, because hopefully this podcast will be heard by some people who want to
Yeah.
attend.
No, that'd be cool.
Yeah, so we meet every other Friday, and we meet at 1:45 p.m., which school gets out at 1:30. And next year, what we're looking to do is have we meet twice a month. One of the meetings would be like a project day, I guess. So you'd have like 3 or 4 options where you could participate in a project, and you'd have time to work on those, like the Green Bandana or the mental health program I talked about. The other day, we'd have a speaker come in, kind of like what we did this year. So we just want to do like a mix and match of both, and we'd obviously do like volunteering and whatnot, like on the weekends and stuff. So yeah.
What about kids who are in sports? Are they able to participate?
Yeah, they can meet.
That's the beauty of this time.
Yes.
Good.
Sports are not allowed to take place until 3 p.m.
Oh.
So they can.
The only drawback is their teacher liaison is not able to be there because she has the mandatory staff training.
Yeah.
So
But there's enough interest. We'll have 2 leaders supporting the Interact group, because while the students are leading the efforts, it's just good to have that representation and the guidance. And to your point, Jenny, it's a lot of fun listening. I was really surprised when I went last because you know how sometimes in any organizations where you're volunteering your time, there are a couple of leaders that pop up and are doing most of the work, which granted, I'm sure you've done a big chunk of it, but all of the members of the group were contributing
Yeah.
all
and do
have a voice.
contribute.
Yep.
They all have a voice. They're all contributing to the conversation, and it's really fun to sit back and watch the dynamics in play. Don't you think? Oh, my
totally, totally. And
I've only been to a few. I mean,
as we were kind of imagining how this was going to be, I was thinking, I have said forever, just from my own personal standpoint, that Cedar Rapids is one of the most giving, deep communities, supportive communities. My little tagline is if you have a need, there is a nonprofit for that in Cedar Rapids.
Yes.
And so I was thinking, as these students are wanting to learn, and like the importance of volunteerism and the purpose of volunteerism was like, let's just bring in some of these different agencies so you guys know whether you're in high school or as you become adults, but to have that many kids in the know about how this community ticks. So we've only had one speaker that was like outside of the nonprofit world, and it was the really awesome guy from the recycling
Oh yes, he was cool. He was
environmental stuff. But it's fun to watch you guys learn how great this community is.
And it's fun to just really learn about the city, because I feel like a lot of people don't really know about it. I was in the Mayor's Youth Council, and we had people from the city come in and talk to us about different. And I'm like, I didn't know that. And people coming in to interact. I'm like, we have that organization. That's a resource for us. And I think so many people just don't know about that. And it's nice to interact, sort of a sanction for that, where people can learn more.
Well, I think that's interesting that you say that, because Rotary has done that for me.
Oh.
I've been in Cedar Rapids for about 20 years, and Rotary has helped me fall in love with the community because of the programs that we have. It's like we have so much going on, and there's just so many different options that you can be a part of, and it really opened my eyes. And so I've been very thankful to Rotary for that.
I think it's a great connection. Before I think we kind of started up, just talking about all the opportunities in the area, Michelle and Jenny, I'm wondering if you said there's so many opportunities now for youth, for people to get involved. I mean, where do you see us kind of going from here as a club, or how can we do better? What else can we do? I'm interested in that.
One of the things we had talked recently about was creating even just a one-page picture of all of the different opportunities for the youth, because I think if we can connect the circles not only for the youth, but for our organizations to really engage with the youth and connect those dots, I can see a big opportunity to engage. For instance, when you leave high school, you even going back to high school to speak to the future clubs or the collegiate groups coming in to speak to your group. Like, let's all work together to really provide that awareness and
of
opportunity.
all the steps in life. The one thing
Yeah.
that we see that is maybe missing is the college level
Preparation.
Rotary, Interact at the college level. And so that might be, and we're so lucky in our Rotaries in Cedar Rapids is we have all the local presidents involved in multiple chapters. And so that might be
Something to push forward.
Well,
in
and
their
that
community.
fell
Oh, yeah.
apart during COVID because we did sponsor an Interact club with West at Kirkwood, but Kirkwood is a 2-year school, and so when
they
COVID
lost all of
shuts down. They're
Yeah.
done. So,
But there are
that
all of
had
the
to
presidents, the local presidents are engaged with Rotary. So I actually we talked to David and Todd today from 2 local 4-year institutions, and there's an interest
Yes.
Yeah.
in engaging youth. And one of the things we talk about even as a business community is keeping people excited about staying in this community. So
Absolutely.
just what you described is really fascinating to me in that the more that we can engage with the youth, the more opportunities that we're not only exposing ourselves to, but also the youth in wanting to stay and encouraging that.
well, and as we give them leadership skills, and as we give them opportunities to study across the pond, so to speak, that will help them want to pay it back to Rotary in a way, and come back and join Rotary and help in the future.
Martine, are you from Cedar Rapids, or what's
I
kind of your
am
background?
not actually. I was born in Zambia,
Okay.
and so my family migrated here migrated to Texas in 2017. I lived in Abilene, Texas, throughout middle school, and then we moved here summer before my freshman year.
Okay.
So I've only been here for like 3 years, summer before my freshman year.
So do you feel? I don't mean to put you on the spot. Do you like Cedar Rapids? Do you feel connected to it? Do you feel like
Definitely.
cool place to be?
I think when I was in Abilene, a lot of the connection I felt was with my family, just my immediate
sure.
family, and maybe immediate friends, I would say. But I've really, really been able to just kind of go out into the community and really see things and really be a part of something that I don't think I was able to. I think Cedar Rapids offers something that a lot of cities, I think, maybe might not. It's great. Yeah.
It's about getting connected and
Exactly,
finding the
yeah.
right pieces.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit. Part of what we're doing with the podcast is helping people get engaged who want to get engaged. So first off, let's just talk about our club, right? Or people in our metro. If you want, it probably is an easy question. If you want to get involved with the youth, what do you do? How do you get involved with this?
you raise your hand. Well, I'm gonna.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll find you.
We have a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, we're just passing the torch so I'm chairing the youth committee for the Downtown Rotary.
Yep.
And it's not hard. I think the biggest time commitment for any committee is related to Interact, and it's not hard hours. Everything else is a meeting once a month and choosing one of the committees to serve on. And at the very least, that once a month meeting where we get to sit around a table together with other really interested, great community leaders is great. So just you can always reach out to me,
Yeah.
Jenny. I will
There you go.
take you on our committee.
Barb, as incoming president, any
Yeah.
thoughts on youth involvement or what the club should be looking at the next year?
Well, I of course love the RYLA and Young RYLA programs, and so I'm always, every year I send out an email to everybody I can think of who has kids that are 7th and 8th grade level, 10th and 11th grade levels, because I think that's a good way to get everything started. But
Yeah.
I do think it would be good if we could get an Interact club going again.
Cool.
I think it would be good if we could get a Rotex person coming in, and we can do that because I have the connection now. I have the name, but get them in to talk about the experiences that they've had across different playing fields or whatever you
Yeah.
want to say, and get people excited about the experiences they've had, because that's what's going to help kids get involved, is if they get excited about something like that. So I just think if we connect, like Michelle said, connect the circles and connect the people together, then we can really help build that up.
Let's talk. Let's talk about kind of for other Rotarians, maybe other clubs or other areas of the country that might be listening to this. They want to increase our club is a fairly good size. I can't.
242, I think, is the number we're
242.
starting with this year.
the largest club in Iowa? One of the largest clubs?
It's the largest club in Iowa, and it's like the 34th or 35th in the.
Okay, so we've got a lot of man and woman power
Yes.
at our club. But, for other folks that maybe want to get involved or push the needle in their area, other Rotary clubs, what is your just thoughts in terms of making things happen for the youth? Well, what are just some tips or thoughts?
Well, for one thing, I would say check with your district, because each district, like for instance, the conferences that Barb speaks of, the district does all of the work. We just engage and try to communicate and make sure that we're
Oh, so wait, so you're saying talk to your
sharing
Rotary
information.
district. I thought you meant your school district.
Well, that's interesting too. Yeah, because we
of
actually,
them.
when we first
Pick a
were trying to
district.
figure out what was happening with Interact, we did reach out to the school principals and the counselors. So to your point, that's a really good starting point if you want to engage. Rotary itself has a number of platforms already set up. So what is available in your district as it relates to high school students, college students, etc.? What opportunities exist? And so
That's cool.
even reaching in there, finding out what does that platform look like, and then reaching out to the applicable schools is an easy first step.
Well, and there's probably somebody somewhere doing what you want to do.
Oh, for sure.
That's a
And
great
so you can, it's like Betsy Cutter going to Colorado and seeing what their young RYLA
Right.
experience is like and bringing it back. It may be very similar to what they do. It may be exactly like it doesn't matter. You bring it back and you make it what you want it to be. And I think, like Michelle said, it doesn't have to be hard where you start from the ground. You can borrow and build on somebody else's what
Or
they
steal.
started. Or steal.
Yeah.
I steal a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hey.
I've stolen a lot of Jim's ideas.
Well, and we're always reaching out, even at the district Rotary conference, and
Yes.
we want to help each other be successful. And so, as much as you can reach out to the district, you can reach out to other Rotarian groups. They're all it's all public information, and literally pick up the phone, and people want to share their information because we want Rotary overall to be successcul.
And the youth, right? We want
And it builds that energy, yeah.
Let's, Martina, I've been putting you on the spot the whole time. One more time. I want you to
okay.
talk about your future. What do you want to do after high school, or what are you looking at? What's going on?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So my internship with Michelle is a human resource internship where I'll be working with different projects. So I hope to major in management, maybe human resources.
Okay.
My career path up to be a human resource manager. But I also want to minor in psychology because I'm really interested and I think that pairs really well. I hope to maybe go to grad school. Maybe we'll see. If I'm tired of school, maybe not. I don't know. Depends on the state of our world at that time. But with Questbridge, I get to take part in the National College Match, which is due November 1st. So match day is December 1st. I'm gonna find out actually at the end of this year if I'm matched or not, and then from
So what does that?
Matched
What
with
does that
what?
mean?
Yeah.
oh gosh,
This
okay.
is the coolest program. It's all coming to me. Now I know what you're talking about.
have you heard of it?
Yes.
Oh.
There's kids that are Questbridge at my daughter's college.
Perfect, because every time I bring it up, I'm like, I don't know what that is. I'm like, it's a whole big explanation.
Okay, go.
So Questbridge is this organization that's catered towards low-income students, and it helps them connect them to top colleges that they otherwise wouldn't consider, and it sort of removes those barriers that low-income students often have, high-achieving low-income students that they often have. So essentially,
You can't be a wallflower. You have to be an
Sure.
achiever.
Yeah, okay.
I think we've seen that.
Yeah, I think that's an issue.
So
How did you find out about Questbridge?
my
Through the counseling?
counselor, my
Okay.
counselor sent it to me actually, and so I was like, I guess I'll apply. I applied to the Prep Scholars, which is for 11th graders, so it's just like a pre kind of program, but it makes me 5 times more likely to be accepted into the National College Match, so I'm not really worried. But I got into the Prep Scholars, so I was really excited about that. I was nervous about it. So Prep Scholars is for 11th graders, and once you're a senior or end of the summer, you'd apply to the National College Match. If you're a finalist, Questbridge has 48 partners, right, and they're all kind of like top colleges in the U.S. And so you'd get an opportunity to rank up to 12 of those. And so the order in which you rank them matters. So then you'd send those in, you'd send in any other supplemental essays, things like that, and then the colleges would determine if they want you, essentially. And a match is if, you want them and they want you. The highest on that list, you both, sort of like want each other, you'd be matched to it, and you'd be matched with a full scholarship. So full 4-year scholarship, room, board, travel, everything covered, food, like everything. So so that match scholarship is kind of huge. So
you'll know in December.
December 1st is match
Put
day.
it on my calendar.
Yeah.
I can hardly wait.
Yes.
So in my head, I'm thinking Rotary presentation. Like, can we
Oh
get
my
someone
gosh,
from
absolutely.
Questbridge,
Yeah.
even someone from Questbridge
And-
to come and talk about their part, and you talk about your part.
And what's crazy is that there's so many opportunities out there that just people don't know about. I mean, I didn't know
Yes.
about it. So
Yes,
this is
that's
such
right.
such a cool opportunity that I otherwise would have missed if I didn't know. And it's early decision. And so if the unfortunate chance that I weren't to get a match,
You could still go after others.
yeah, I can still apply regular decision, which isn't until January, and I can still go through Questbridge, and I'd still have 100% of my financial need met, but it just wouldn't be with that full scholarship, essentially. Yeah, so it's like we can present these opportunities to youth because I know in a lot of cases students feel discouraged, where they're like, oh, how am I going to go to college? It's like
Right.
however much I can't pay for that, my parents can afford it, and they just kind of don't consider as an option. But I think if Rotary and Interact was able to have these opportunities and present this to them and show them, hey, you can do this. Here's how you can. Here's ways that these barriers are being broken down for you. I think that would really be helpful. Yeah.
Can I just add one little side story? The other person who joined me as my co-chair with this Interact is the new president of Mount Mercy University, Todd Olson. And probably the first 3 times when we met and we were still trying to learn everyone's names, and we would go around and say, like, I'm so-and-so and I'm involved in this, or I'm from here or whatever. And he would always introduce himself as Todd from Mount Mercy. And I finally was like, no, guys, this is the president of Mount Mercy. You have this great resource. He's so humble, but he is such a wonderful
He's such a
resource,
good
and
guy.
he's so present with these kids.
Yeah, he is.
He's present with everything. I mean,
He's
he helps
amazing.
everything we do.
Yeah.
Like
Hi, Todd.
Shout out.
He came in.
But so we did schedule
Yeah.
one of our sessions where he just talked about
Yes.
post high school plans, not necessarily college, but it's like, why are we going out in the community looking for? We've got this great resource for these sharp kids who, if you're the first in your family looking at post high school opportunities, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, and I am
right.
a first generation student. It's daunting because I'm like, no one in my family has ever done this. I mean, what do I do? And I remember it was like 10th grade, and I was like, you know what? I could just go to Kirkwood, and then I'll transfer. And I'm like, it's just so, I wasn't excited about it. I mean, it's a good option, of course, but it wasn't something that I wanted. I was just kind of,
It's just nice to know what your options
Yeah.
are. And so that was one of our other, with rewriting the reality of this
Yeah.
Interact, is we were like, we can do what we want to do right now while we're reimagining this.
Yeah,
So
and
that
I-
was a good.
And I think that's a part we're trying to implement into Interact Club next year, thinking about your post-secondary education, where we're trying to think of like preparation for that. I think we talked about having speakers come in and talk to us about, if we have freshmen come in, have them start thinking about that a little bit early, present those opportunities to them, just kind of prepare for a post-secondary. As like it can be stressful if you start thinking about it like two months before you graduate per se. Yeah.
Or even what you want to do. Maybe it's not college.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
so what
Right.
you want to do, how do
you go about getting a job?
Yep.
Do you want to go in the
Exactly.
military? Do you want to
Right.
get a trade? Do you want to? Yeah.
We even did that. So when the Interact group came to Slingshot 25, it was interesting because they were all interested in job shadowing and internships, but we dug a little bit to try to
Yeah.
figure out what is it specifically that ignites you. We have a number of business connections, and they're, of course, interested in supporting you.
Yes.
So we kind of got to a point where a couple of folks were interested in a couple of job shadows, but they weren't really sure. Like, let's just expose you.
Well, that's kind of the whole thing. It's like nobody really knows when you're in school.
You don't
the
know.
only job you really know is a teacher.
That's right.
So
Or what your parents do.
Yeah.
But you may not even know what they
Right.
do in the office. You just
Right.
know what job they have, but
Yeah.
you may not know what their day looks like. And I think
Yeah.
that would be interesting to get a glimpse of some of those things.
I could see something more in the future with that. And really bringing awareness to the
Yeah.
students
And I
in
think-
partnership with the Rotary.
Yeah, and I think also reaching out to different types of students. I mean, like you have that like student A, high achieving, where they want to be involved, but also you have students that are sort of like face other barriers where they can't be involved, or they, just making sure that they know that they have support and there's other ways that there's other opportunities and whatnot. Yeah.
As you're talking, I'm thinking about this interact, like there are a lot of options in high school, and like I think you guys have like a service club or a key club,
Yes.
and they were talking about
differences,
the
yeah.
parallels and the differences, and maybe one of the things that we capitalize on with the development of Interact is, yes, you're learning how to be involved in your community and about what goes on in your community, but you also, with your membership in this club, is you have 239. How many?
242.
242 you have 242 cheerleaders in
Oh,
the
yeah.
community that want to see you do well, and that you can't replicate that. Like that's pretty nifty.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something that we want. Because when we did bring you all in and introduce you,
Yes. that
you're
was
right.
amazing.
I had people coming up giving me cards and
Yes.
saying, if you need me to come talk about this or this, like, and we didn't even get to all of them this year, but
Next year.
for you high school students to know that all of these adults are rooting for you, it's pretty cool.
It's awesome. I think we'll leave it there. I'm glad we got some brainstorming in the working session here. So many great ideas, so many avenues for service. So I think thank you all for everything you're doing. Martine, thanks for joining us, and congrats. It sounds like you have such a bright future.
Thank you. Thank you
we're
very
all
much.
excited to see. So Barb, Michelle, Jenny, Martine, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's our podcast episode for today. We hope you enjoyed this look at the next generation of Rotarians and get inspired to help us in our efforts to lift up our youth. A big thanks to Michelle Owens, Jenny Bosking, Barb Randall, and Martine Niwe for participating, and to Informatics for recording and producing this series. Learn more about our club at RotaryClubOfCedarRapids.org, or you can visit us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube by searching for Cedar Rapids Downtown Rotary. And I'd like to wrap up with a quote: "You make a living by what you get, you make a life by what you give." Thanks for listening.